Is it time? Okay, good morning, everybody. It's a workshop, risk management workshop, so we have invited TAC representatives to come discuss it. So you all go right ahead, get started.
Well, good morning, everybody. Oh. It's not good when I'm busting out a laptop, but it's kind of good. So Fern and I had done a claims review a few months ago, and I'm sorry, I'm Joe Shevchik. I'm a risk control consultant with TAC, the safety guy. If you're not familiar, your lines of coverage: workers' comp, auto, property, general liability. With those coverages you have through the pool, you get my services as a risk control consultant at no additional charge. So I look at claims with Fern in this instance. We review them and I come up with recommendations for training, or we talk about policies that the county may or may not have in place, and I'll make recommendations, provide sample policies and stuff like that to try and make it safer, to keep your claims low, to keep your renewal costs low. So when you guys have high claims, there's potential. Fern and I had met and reviewed some of your claims. Well, actually reviewed all of them. We did what's called a 3-year loss run. The last 3 years are the years that are used to come up with your next year's premium. You guys had considerable amount of losses. Workers' comp, for instance, you guys did much better this year in your number of claims and your frequency, but your severity was more than 2 or 3 times higher. I think one of those was due to, you guys had a deputy that had some type of accident. I believe he lost his leg, and it was like $470,000. Spoke to the sheriff this morning and his chief deputy. They've already been working with Darren Jackson, who's the law enforcement consultant. They did some training already. I would recommend that they try and do some more driver's training. Looking at where the losses are coming from, I have a report. It's called a top 10 cause of loss, and I think you may have seen this. I think Fern showed it to you, which brought us to where we're at having this meeting right now. Just wanted it shared with everybody so we could not try and hide a dirty little secret. I'm not saying somebody's doing a bad job or we're doing things unsafe, because I don't know. I'd have to do like some type of deep dive analysis into policies and procedures and what you guys are doing. If we're retaining employees that have a history of bad behavior resulting in claims, not following rules, not wearing their seatbelts, stuff like that. But a lot of my training I do that I recommend addresses those things. So training for the county that I'm recommending based off your losses is going to be distracted driving, which I can provide for everybody. The difference for law enforcement is Darren's law enforcement training gives those deputies their TCOL hours. Mine doesn't give them any TCOL hours. But I specifically go into distracted driving and some of these things like driver inattentiveness that is one of the leading causes of collisions in the county, whether it's law enforcement or not. I've got a great video that plays. It's really tough because I know the county's busy. I know the sheriff has the most dangerous job in the county. He has jailers, he has guys that are driving 24/7, 365 during hours of daylight, hours of darkness, dawn and dusk when these time changes happen. Animal strikes happen at these times, dawn and dusk. You guys do have a significant amount of animal strikes that is kind of increasing your auto claims, your frequency and your severity. But I can go through auto liability, your 3-year loss run. $342,000 is what TAC has paid out in auto liability coverage, and just from October 2020 through October 2022. But that tells me something good. There's no 23 on here, so you guys have no claims for your auto liability this year. So you guys are doing pretty well there. But historically, not so much. And it's auto liability, not auto physical damage. We'll get into that one.
Okay.
I saw the blank stares.
We've had liability claims.
All right.
Joe?
What's that?
We've had liability claims.
Uh,
Quite a few of them.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I'll look. This report was generated this morning.
Yeah.
It says you guys have 16 claims in the last 3 years, and the dollar amount that auto-populated on this report, it updates at 6 in the morning, 342,790. But we can look into that, I can go over that with you, and we can see where maybe something's missing. But I did also pull up a detailed loss run. Let me switch over to that real quick, because it breaks all of your coverages down by year at the very bottom. And this is the one, and probably the main reason we're doing an executive session. This report has employee names on it, PII information. So if we were gonna go into any details on those claims, you know, that's why I recommended the executive session. But let me look at this line of coverage real quick. That other report is wrong. I have from October 122 to October 123, you guys have 10 claims for $303,000, so thank you for that. For some reason, that other report just didn't put that 2023 on there. So you guys have actually increased more than 100% from previous years. In 2020, you had 4 claims for $35,000. 2021, you had 3 claims for $2,800. And 2022 to 2023, and this is why I did it. I just realized your renewal year or your renewal date is in October, so it goes to October 2023. After October 23, you haven't had any claims, so that's why it didn't have 23 on there, because it's a part of your 2022 renewal year. So far this year, you guys haven't had any auto liability claims on this renewal cycle. But total of 342,540, so the numbers are fairly accurate. The other thing to point out is that you guys have over $23,203 in deductible that you've paid out. So not only are you paying for your coverage, but you've also got deductible that you're paying money on. So the TAC funded portion comes out to that $342,000. Your auto physical damage, APD claims, you guys have $286,789. And of that amount, $15,484 was in deductible. And just going down from 2020 to 21, there was 11 claims, $85,000. 2021 to 22, 3 claims for $88.95. And then 22 to 23, there was 15 claims for $192,047. So this last year was our significant uptick. So we're trending in the wrong direction. Whether it could have been one collision that was really bad that affected both lines of coverage, but we'll see when we get down to the workers' compensation. General liability, you guys have averaged 1 to 2 claims a year, a total of 5 for $3,000. So you're doing pretty good with your general liability. Fern and I go through those and look at the claims and see if there's anything I can recommend, or talk to certain departments. If someone's slipping and falling in the courthouse, are we putting out wet floor signs, or deputies slipping and sliding and falling, hurting themselves in the jail, or inmates hurting themselves in the jail sometimes can be a general liability claim. That's pretty common in the pool. Property. Property is a beast. It's been a beast for everybody. That's probably Lisa, her famous words are, it's a hard market. Property coverage is getting tough. Reinsurance is getting tough even for us as TAC. The people that put insurance on our insurance, sometimes it's getting a little more expensive. I don't know if your deductibles have gone up because of cost of claims. No property? Okay, good. That's why I'm bringing her. 2 claims, 1 claim. For 2020, 21, and 22. So 22 we did pretty well as far as frequency, but severity, it again more than doubled. Looking at those claims, I can do also property assessments where I walk through your property and make recommendations Corrective action, maybe minimize losses, hardening your buildings, looking at your windows that your maintenance folks probably see the same building every day. They may not notice some things that when Joe walks through, he may see slip, trip, and fall hazards or some maintenance or stuff stored improperly on the roof. So that's the other thing that I recommend is that you guys have me come through and look at your property. I can show your maintenance guys or folks what I look for, which may retrain their eye to see some things that could potentially be a claim and could be prevented through maintenance. And that maintenance is usually a lot less expensive than some type of claim that we're paying out. But 65,000, 2020, 38,000, 21, and 150,000 in 22 to 23. And your renewal on that one is July. So we just passed your renewal. So any claim after July would go towards your 2023. But that total was 253,624. And then Lori Floyd, she reviews. I didn't know if you guys wanted to go over the information. I have data on our public officials liability as well as our law enforcement liability. I wasn't sure if that was something you guys wanted to share. That's not really my area of expertise, but I didn't know if you guys wanted that information or not.
That's something y'all would like.
Yeah.
We do want a copy of all these reports,
Yes, ma'am.
you know, once this is concluded, along with whatever your recommendations are.
Okay.
I mean, so far, I have written down that we need you to do training,
Yes.
obviously with anyone that has drivers in their department, and that we do want a review of property issues. And if there's anything else that any of the court members would like, then we need to make sure we do that as well.
Excellent, excellent. And there was back injury prevention and slip, trip, and fall training was my other two recommendations. There's some road and bridge claims, people mounting, dismounting equipment. There was one, a guy jumped out of the back of his pickup truck and hurt his back, strained his back, grabbing a shovel. You know, I have information on all these, and all the causes of these losses is in this detailed loss run. But these are all claims that the county has submitted to TAC that we're working. But getting to workers' comp, January is your renewal date for workers' comp. 2020, there was 41 claims, which isn't too bad. You guys have two different employee counts, but on your workers' comp, you have around 400 employees. So that 41 is 26,162. In 2021, 56 claims for 201,000. That 2021, the common uptick is gonna be our COVID claims. We could look in the details and see if you had any hospitalizations that caused significant amount of money. 2022, 45 claims, and that is $27,000, so right back down to where you're averaging from that 2020 year. And then 2023, January to January so far, the year is not over, and we're at 38 claims, and the dollar value on that is $541,661. And like I said, we had one claim with a deputy that was $470,000. So what that means is, well, I don't know what it means, but what we can find out what it means is through accident investigations. Is there a policy or a procedure, what you do whenever a claim is turned in? Do department heads follow up on the root cause of what caused this to happen? And is there anything that we could do to prevent this from happening again? Through training, policy implementation, policy review, training on the policy. You know, are we getting rid of employees that are having recurring injuries? You know, those repeat offenders that aren't following the rules? And who makes those determinations? You know, obviously the elected officials get to decide who they retain, and there's other factors that go into play. You know, a lot of road and bridge departments have problems with staffing with these new CDL rule changes, where you have to get a license through a training professional instead of coming to the county with a permit and getting your CDL license, it makes it harder to find people. You know, pay, if your pay is not competitive, so not being able to retain employees can factor into sometimes why we keep an employee maybe we otherwise wouldn't keep if we could find a suitable replacement. And the same thing goes for law enforcement. You know, the sheriff's office, all around the state, you know, that's a recurring issue that I hear about, problem staffing the jails and things like that. Darren Jackson's a great wealth of knowledge when it comes to what counties are doing to counter some of those issues. And I can help out answering some questions for Road and Bridge as well. There is a program out there where the county can actually become its own CDL testing training facility. I'm trying to get that to be a topic at our county management risk conference. But Comal County's been doing it. I know Tyler County is working with a local community college that they're gonna provide the training. Their employee is gonna be the instructor working for the college doing the training. So there's a bunch of different ways to skin that cat, and if you guys, anyone's interested in discussing that further, I'd be happy to.
Well, and actually, we are moving that direction.
Is that right?
Because Lamar will be coming in and taking over for Angelina College.
Okay,
That
and I
was
think
one
it
of-
was Lamar that
Yeah.
they're using,
That
so,
was one of the requests from Angelina College, and it just never happened.
okay.
And so our sheriff's office is going to be the CDL testing site, but if Lamar is coming in.
Okay.
then Lamar will be actually our trainer, teacher,
Excellent. And
instructional.
I've got the road and bridge administrator in Comal County. He's actually a wealth of knowledge on the subject. They put 26 drivers through their own program and gotten CDLs. Their pass rate is actually like 98% for taking the test, doing the walk around, when before in their region, employees, the hardest problem was the walk around. You know, you miss one thing, they'll turn and fail you. I know you guys have a motor vehicle department here that is fairly tough. I've had several counties in the area that actually send their people an hour or two away to take that test. So, if it's been an issue for you, something to consider. But that's it. I mean, I know I threw a lot of numbers at you, and I mean, you can choose to do with it what you want. I'm making a recommendation as your consultant, whatever you want to do. If you want me to help out, you guys also have access to something called the AP safety training with your workers' comp coverage, where you can check out videos and they're online, and you can do your own training that way. I know law enforcement has access to some stuff through Darren Jackson as well, some training. That could be corrective action. An employee has a collision or a crash. Hey, you gotta do this defensive driving training or something like that. Could be a solution, it might not be. You know, talking to the commissioners and road and bridge employees, I do heavy equipment safety training. I could talk about pre-op, post-op checks. Are you guys doing your inspections? Are you retaining those documents for vehicle inspections? Because those fall under document retention for 3 to 5 years, depending on the document and what kind of inspection it is. A CDL, commercial vehicle, gets in a crash, those records could be called into some type of a lawsuit. So make sure you're retaining those documents. And unfortunately, if we're not doing anything to correct the things employees are putting on those documents, that can actually work against the county in some type of a lawsuit. So just other things to consider. But that's about it. I know it was a lot of information. Fern has been very gracious in meeting with me and sitting and listening to all the safety stuff I sit and talk about. I kind of, I don't know, geek out on the safety stuff, because that's what I do. So if you guys need some assistance or want some assistance, whatever I can do, this is my job. I travel around Southeast Texas 4 or 5 days a week, you know, probably 50 weeks out of the year. So I'm here for y'all. If there's something you want to schedule or get me doing for you that I might be able to help you out, I'm definitely all game.
You have any questions?
I don't have a
So
Okay, so,
You gonna,
go ahead.
so you'll give us this list of stuff, and then you'll have suggestions of what we need to do to try to correct some of this?
Well, and recommended training is obviously a step. Is it gonna fix what's causing all of this? Not necessarily. We have to look at, when we look at these numbers, you know, I mean, I can kind of flip this around, and this is your workers' comp coverage. You know, and it breaks it down by year, and I can see how many claims you had each year and how much money went out in claims each year. You kind of have to deep dive into that year and looking at all the individual claims. It may be precinct 4 that had a collision that ended up in being workers' comp claim. Because this is something else that I'm seeing, and something I noticed with y'all, is a lot of your auto crashes ended up also being workers' comp claims. So the two are tied together, you know, and I don't know if you all had the opportunity to go to one of our regional trainings this year, but that was something that is trending in the pool, how workers' comp used to be our loss leader, but now it's auto is becoming our loss leader since after COVID. I have opinions on what the cause of that is. You know, we had a lot of employees that didn't drive. They were cooped up in the house for a year. We got new drivers that learned how to drive remotely. I don't know how they did it if they were locked up in their house. And I don't think you guys were affected as much up here. Some of our more rural areas didn't, you know, lock down like we did in Austin for an entire year before returning to work. A lot of county employees had to return to work, but
We didn't lock down at all. Somebody has to work.
I understand that
They expect
100%, but, you know, the board said we as TAC employees were gonna work remotely for a year, so I was doing webinars on a computer trying to teach people, and, you know, couldn't do inspections. So we kind of fell behind the curve with what I'm trying to do with my counties, so trying to get out in front of that. I know in the past, y'all had been pretty active in doing training with me. I don't know how familiar y'all are with that, but I was doing fire safety training, defensive driving, heavy equipment safety
How long you been with Tech?
since 2017.
I've been here 14 years the first time I met you,
Yeah.
so we ain't been very active, we.
Well, you know, it was 2017, 2018, it was with your emergency manager. She had just taken over for someone else that was retiring, and she was scheduling me to come out and do training, and I looked at a couple of your properties and provided some recommendations, and that was pretty much the last time I had come out and done training. I've been coming out every year to do claims reviews and stuff like that, but you guys haven't been utilizing my training services, which is
First
something
time I've
I'm
heard
trying to
about it.
start back up, so.
I mean,
Well,
it's-
it's not
I
the
mean, it's
safety
first
committee
time.
meetings too. The safety committee, we have a safety committee that usually does all this, and he's come to those meetings to present stuff, but we haven't had a meeting in a while.
Okay, so can we, on this report, can you go ahead and do a deep dive and do some, look at it by department? So that you know, unfortunately, what happens is you preach to the choir sometimes.
Right.
And so I think it would allow the court and all the elected officials to take a long, hard look at their individual departments.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, like in the court's case, they have 10, 11 departments that they oversee, and so sometimes you don't know necessarily every single thing that's happening, so I think that would help.
And I just so happen to have right in front of me a top 10 cause of loss by department. So, you know, I wasn't gonna, I try and be careful, because I'm not trying to make anyone look bad, because that's not what this is intending to do. And sometimes just looking at numbers, it may look like that, but when we look at things like the sheriff's office and the jail, most dangerous jobs in the county, they're gonna have more claims. They have probably more than half the employee count for the county. So there could be potential for,
They're more than half of everything.
right.
I mean, we understand all of
We
this.
understand
Okay,
that that's
good.
not an issue.
So the sheriff's office, they have 74 work comp claims at $627,000 for the last renewal period.
And one of those is the top one that happened this year.
Yeah.
That's.
That
probably more than
$500,
half
that
of
$470,000
Yeah,
was one claim, so,
Right.
you know, sometimes the numbers can be skewed, you know, one mishap in the line of duty, something totally just freak accident. I don't know what it was, what the actual cause of it was, but, you know, that's taken away $470,000. So the sheriff, or the jail had 64 claims for, $128,000. Precinct 4, 7 claims for $11,785. Public Works and Maintenance, 10 claims for $96.62. Environmental Public Works, 1 claim for $6,800. Precinct 1, 3 claims for $47.95. There's another one that's just Public Works, 2 claims for $44.50. Precinct 3, 3 claims for $14.44. I have Hospital Food Service, 2 claims for $542, and then Hospital Maintenance, 1 claim for $366. And that pretty much takes all your claims. Now, just keep in mind, some of these may be categorized incorrectly, and that's where, you know, I charge the county, they're
Hospital
responsible.
maintenance is definitely categorized
Right,
incorrectly.
that's what we
Right.
were just talking about, I was like, wait.
We're not in the medical field.
And when I reviewed this with
Hospital.
Fern, this is something I pointed out, because you guys submit these claims, and when you reconcile with Sedgwick, who is our third-party administrator, get these correct, because some precincts may be incorrect, where they just clicked a road and bridge precinct, and it may not be precinct 4, it might be precinct 3. So
Right.
using this to kind of target what departments need training, I would recommend that you just do that after that reconciliation has taken
Right,
place.
and just to let the court know, Vern has started doing a quarterly claims review with Sedgwick since she came on. So we've already done, I think, 1 with you, and that's very helpful in cleaning this up. Sometimes if something's left blank when somebody submits a work comp claim, the Sedgwick may just grab precinct 1 if it said, you know, road and
Precinct,
bridge, you
yeah.
know? So things like that happen on the Sedgwick side, just know that, but Vern's doing everything she can. And I apologize if I interrupted you, you go ahead.
What was precinct 4?
Well, I can take a look.
All right, here we go.
I know it too.
He's about
I know it
to,
too.
he'll be like, no, that's precinct 1, get it out of my. And I have also made a note that Joe will provide these reports and give you the recommendations, and now he can deep dive it.
Yeah,
Wow.
the court needs to receive the recommendations and receive all the information, otherwise it's difficult to really make an assessment of what's going on.
Right, you're taking that information and having to go through it all.
Yes. And also, I mean, obviously Fern is one step ahead with already starting to do it quarterly, but we do want to make sure that we maintain that communication and that this become at least a yearly report for the court, so that the court is aware. I mean, we're all aware that our cost is increasing, which obviously has a budgetary impact for everybody.
Right.
You know, so,
I agree, and
It's
I
going to have to become a
appreciate you
yearly-
offering that to us.
yeah, it's gonna have to become a yearly report, and it's going to have to, whenever Fern does her quarterlies, then you need to make sure that you bring the information to the court, so that the court can decide if there's additional training needed, or for you to make a recommendation to the court of, you know, there's an uptick over here or a downtrend over there, so what is this group doing right? And where does this group need help?
Thank you so much. That's music to my ears, and I know it is to Joe. He's deep
Yes.
diving right now in commissioners report.
We have Chadwick Reeks had an auto claim, but
Yeah.
there was no coverage on the vehicle that was involved in that, so that was a $0 loss.
That had nothing to do with the county. He
Yeah.
rear-ended the school bus and his attorney sent a letter to the county
Okay.
because he thought the school district was affiliated with the county.
Well, why you looking at it, I'm the one that supposed that's not worded right, I didn't jump off that tire, I just stepped down.
Is that right?
Hit that knee, and I went and got MRI, and I'm going to physical therapy because they tell me to. But
Right.
Honestly, 2 more trips and I'm through, I don't even need it.
And, you know,
But I
like I
didn't jump,
said,
I just
I
stepped down.
all I see is numbers.
Yeah, I know.
So when we sit down and we discuss the claims and the root cause analysis, I apologize if I offended you, sir, but I just.
But honestly, I won't know what the claim was.
Right, so the dollar value on that was one of the bigger claims because of the medical services to make sure you were good to go and the physical therapy. So even though there's no significant injury, sometimes these claims can still be expensive.
That was 11,000.
We'll look at it. I don't know.
Listen here,
I think it was,
Superman, quit jumping on the tall building.
I think it was like 4,000, if I'm not
Not too
mistaken.
much, but okay, that's better than having, okay.
William Nelson was a $0 loss. Ricky B word, C word? Seward, yeah, $0 loss. Thomas
Ricky is trying
Sheffield.
desperately to ignore everybody else.
Thomas Sheffield was $502 for a slip, trip, and fall. And then Lonnie was $0 loss.
And that's fine, if you
Jerry
could just.
Cassidy, here we go.
Yeah, if you could
And all I see is strainer injury by jumping, and it was $6,750, and that claim is still open, so it can grow.
It won't grow.
He's closing it.
And it
He's
said
closing it.
stepping down, fell off tire from picking the shovel up out of the back. That's all I see.
did. I didn't
He
think
fell
so.
from
Step
picking,
down.
yes.
So, anyway, go ahead, I'm holding on.
Well,
Now that we all have your HIPAA information.
So, you know, and this is this type of stuff, if a department is having some issues or they want to do this with their department and look at their claims, I'd be happy to do that. Or we just kind of categorize everybody into one lump, because if it's happening in one department, it could happen in all other departments. So if we do the training for everybody, it could be preventative. You know, not saying I do all the same training every year, we try and switch it up if we haven't trained on certain topics. I know in the past I've dropped off toolbox talks. It's a book of 120 different little 5-minute hip pocket classes that foremen could give to their employees before they go out on the job. Heat injury prevention, defensive driving, back injury prevention, all these things. Safety is not just Joe coming once or twice a year and doing safety training. It's a culture. You know, if the supervisors make safety a part of the culture and the employees know safety is important to them, and their continued employee and being able to be employed with the county is based off of that safety track record, that can help minimize risk, or mitigate losses, make people pay more attention. Not trying to use it as a fear, but just as a way to say, hey, this is the way we're gonna do business from here on out. Safety is important to us. You know, these unjustified claims, you know, a lot of these auto accidents or crashes, you know, it's not really an accident if it's preventable. Some of those were subrogated. Some of these collisions weren't the county's fault, but these statistics don't always show that. So there are some claims that the county was not at fault, where we're gonna get some of that money back when these claims close. So that's something else that Fern and I talked about, was following up for the no-fault collisions, where we try and see what we can do for subrogation.
Sounds good. Okay, anybody else have any questions, comments? Okay, first of all, we do have 2 brand-new commissioners. And then Guyleen, who's couldn't be here today, she's reasonably new to the court as well. And so I think that it would probably behoove you to visit with the commissioners, the sheriff, and the jail, maintenance, especially those people that are constantly on the road in some form or fashion.
Yes, ma'am.
So we will be happy to get you that information so that then they can make arrangements as they see fit.
Okay, excellent. Is that how you'd like me to schedule training, as by department, or do we wanna try and do it countywide, or?
I would think that if a couple of the commissioners want to get together, that's fine, but I can't speak for when would be convenient for any other elected official. But
Okay.
I do think that those are the primary ones where you need to have
Okay.
some training and maybe provide more. I know that we get the safety checks from emergency management, and we do read through those and sign off. But maybe emphasize that with each department that you visit with.
Right, and I believe you're referring to the safety equipment funds?
She's talking about a checklist. of
Oh, okay.
maintenance,
Gotcha.
the
Okay.
Yes, we have a
safety things out
little
there.
program where they send out, don't overheat.
Okay,
drink plenty of
gotcha.
water.
It's a once a month deal.
Yeah,
Right.
once a month, we receive a safety.
Like a safety newsletter
Yeah,
type
a
thing?
little safety
Okay,
newsletter,
good.
instructional, and she gets it from different sources, I mean, it comes from all over the place. So we do wanna make sure we continue those, but we also wanna make sure you're aware of what we have been doing
Right,
as well.
yeah,
So, but I do think it would behoove us if you visited with those departments, that are more inclined
okay, excellent. I
to have
would
some
be,
kind of automobile or machinery, or injuries like that, because it's more physical.
okay. And you bring up a very good point, is, me as the consultant, all the stuff I do is recommended, but, when your renewal comes around, and what things you have done from my recommended list or haven't done is also factored in when it comes to your renewal pricing.
Correct.
So, they're gonna consider that. Say this year, like this year is a bad year, but we still, where we have frequency and severity. You do the stuff that Darren and I recommend for the safety side of the house, that affects your auto and your workers' comp. Those things are factored in, when it comes time for your premium to come out, and Lisa delivers that news on the premium stuff. So I'm the safety guy, she's the money gal.
But see, we've never seen your recommendations.
Okay,
This is, we don't get this. So how can we do them if we don't know what they are?
well, that's a very good point you bring up. My designated contact is typically the pool coordinator, and that is usually who I meet with, or whoever does the workers' comp. And I've been meeting with your HR department, and Fern, obviously has brought it to your attention. So we'll just see if we can continue to do that. I think we're gonna be doing this at least once a year now, from what I hear from the
No,
judge, so.
absolutely, I think it should
But
be a
like I say, you have
schedule.
driver training, you have stuff like that.
Yes, sir?
That CDL was a big, huge part.
I don't do CDL, I do like drug and alcohol
just-
training, I do reasonable suspicion training for supervisors, I do all kinds of stuff that
But
is
like you
included
said,
with your
there's driver
coverage.
awareness training, and
Yes,
things
sir.
like that.
Yes,
But see,
and you guys didn't know, and I apologize for that. Maybe I should have reached out to other individuals when training stopped occurring. That's a failure on my
the
part,
only
I
driver
accept
trainings that I've
responsibility
seen
for
since
that.
I've been here was, somebody came with some mobile,
That was Don Courtney probably came with a trailer
A
for the
driving
road and bridge
simulator.
driving simulator.
driving simulator.
Yeah, and I think
Right.
it's been at law enforcement within the past year or two also, so.
Yeah, they brought it for the road and bridge one time.
Uh-huh.
Right, and we no longer have the road and bridge driving simulator. It reached
Well, I mean,
its
that's
end
fine.
of
I
life
mean,
and we
but I'm
haven't
just saying,
replaced it,
you
but
know,
yes, sir.
If y'all offer this stuff, you need to, let us know.
Yes, sir.
And so maybe part of it needs to be that when you do come in to HR, because,
But and Fern's doing
positions-
HR, so
Right.
she just
Right.
started here too, so.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
so we're glad she brought it to our attention. But maybe part of it needs to be that there needs to be more than one contact point with the county. you know, when you're coming in, maybe there needs to be more than one contact person so that HR, if there's been a change in HR, then that information doesn't just fall by the wayside.
Yes, ma'am. I agree 100%.
I mean, you can audit any of us anytime. I mean, we're open. If you got something to make our guys safer and, you know,
And-
safer driving and safer, you know, at work.
Yes, sir,
We're
and I
open-
appreciate
we're
that.
open to it.
I got the marching order. I did 20 years in the Marines. I hear your order and I have received it, you know. That will happen. If we don't schedule training the next time I'm here, you guys will be my next point of contact for sure.
Well, you know, and ours, you know, we'd have to kind of schedule it individually, you know, at your convenience.
Right.
Because we all got different things happening at different times.
Yes, sir. And, you know, like, I'm scheduling training for November, January timeframe right now because my
Yeah.
calendar's filled up. So there is, you know, and I'll work with the calendars and whatever we can do. And sometimes I may have something open up, like 2-3 weeks notice. If you guys can fill a gap, you know, I'll squeeze in sooner than that. But I'm willing to
Yeah,
do
I mean,
whatever.
whatever.
I love training, so if that's like the best part of my job is doing training. So if that's something y'all want, we'll definitely make that happen for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know I'm open to it.
I am very much. No problem at all.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Make
Thank
sure-
you.
Make sure we get those reports and recommendations.
Yes, ma'am.
I've got it noted.
Lisa
Thank you.
noted it, so
Yes.
now I'm gonna do it.
Thank you all so much.
Sheriff, do you have anything you want to add to any of that information?
The only thing is, we talked outside and Darren, he does reach out to us, and so that's how we've been getting our training. Okay, he's Darren and Thomas. They actually do come around and let us know, hey, these are the trainings that we have set for this year, you guys. Because he does call us and let us know about the reports and say, we need to have this, and so, it is working, you know. It's one of the other points you brought up, like all the other sheriff's officers. One of the factors that, I don't know about some of the other department heads, but we deal with is these younger drivers. It comes down to, some, the distracted driver, which is a training that we haven't had, but I heard you mention that, so we definitely want that.
And if that is something, like Darren does his 101 driving safety, you know, if you wanted the next year do distracted driving with me, like I said, you won't get TCOL hours, but it's an hour long and it's got some very valuable information in it.
Well,
I
the good thing
think
that-
Darren has distracted driver training that gives them TCO.
And
Okay.
even if it's a course that you teach, we are we have an instructor's license, or we are training facility, so we can, as long as we get your curriculum, we can turn it into training hours, but I really don't care about the training hours, it's
Right.
really just the training itself.
Right. And, you know, like Darren, I could do multiple sessions, morning, afternoon, multiple shifts, be out there a day or two to try and get everybody knocked out too. So, you know, we'll work with whatever schedule you got.
Good, anything else, appreciate it.
So other than maintenance, is there another department that you need to make sure you contact to engage?
Possibly IT because they drive
Yes,
quite a bit.
yes.
So, yeah.
My office
not-
too.
Yeah.
We do elections at.
Okay.
Yeah, I know IT.
Okay, let's
Give these out to y'all
send the
too.
information to
So give you
everybody.
additional information that's got also training.
We need to make sure we emphasize the other one.
And aging as well.
Yes.
I'll just give one to the sheriff.
And then we'll make sure
So
that this
it'll be on
becomes a yearly report. Joe, when's the most logical time for the yearly report to occur?
You know, it really depends on y'all. I think this time of year would probably be a good time as we look towards the next year
Next
ahead.
budget year?
You know, what training departments should have based off of losses, because you have different renewal dates for different lines of coverage that are spread throughout. So really, any time about a year from now, since we just did it, would make sense to me.
Okay. Okay.
You got any business cards or anything?
I do, I brought some for everybody. Well, maybe not. I think I gave one out already.
Oh, we can find you, Joe, don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
I'm on the TAC website. My email's joe@county.org, so it's super easy. You can track me down for
Sure,
sure.
giving me there.
My cell phone number's on there. I can go grab some more out of the truck too.
I think
have
we're good.
more glove box, so.
think we're good.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time. I
Hey,
appreciate
thanks,
it.
Joe.
Thank
Yes, sir.
you.
Yes, sir.
Have a good one. Safe travels.
You got it? Yes, and I will just send you my.
Take a break and be back at 10.
Okay, good to see you.
Okay, I need a motion to adjourn this
Motion to
motion.
adjourn.
Second.
Sue Bo's, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
9:46.
Thank you, ma'am.